This episode is brought to you by CellTechMD, the leader in regenerative medicine, balancing your body from the inside out.
On the road again, like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world be running our way. And our way is on the road again.
What's up, Nick?
What's happening?
How you doing, man?
For a Monday, as well as can be expected, pretty damn good.
Yeah. So here we are. We've been trying to do this for how many years now?
A long time.
I mean, I think after we did the last one in 2018, we were like, man, we should do that like all the time.
Yeah, I know. And here
And
we
that
are.
was 5 years ago. So, you guys,
life happens.
yeah. Well, you enjoy this one, guys, because it might be another 5 years. before
No,
we do another
no,
one.
it won't.
No, we've got. We are in the gallows of CellTechMD in Atlanta, Georgia. I am here with Nick Jones, the owner and founder of CellTechMD. And I just want to sit down here and talk to you guys a little bit. I'm so excited to be back in the podcast game. I got out for a long time. I know you guys know me as a Gym Gypsy. This is a Gym Gypsy podcast, but it is sponsored by CellTechMD. If it was not for Nick and these guys, I would not be doing this. I would not be able to do it. We've got this awesome room with some really good equipment that we're going to get some really awesome guests in here in the future. And I'm stoked to get in. And I thought that there's no really better person to have in here first than you. Right.
You say so.
I'm just trying to talk you up, bro. I'm just trying to talk you up. So, a lot of people that will probably listen to this and watch this, it is going to be kind of on it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on all the channels and stuff. A lot of them probably already know you, but I don't know that a lot of people like know you and your entire story and how you got into everything.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I would like to be like a little Oprah for a second
Yeah.
and kind of like go into that. So tell everybody about you that maybe doesn't know what makes a Nick sandwich.
Well, so, I won't put anybody to sleep by giving you my life story. I will tell you how I got in the business. I tanked kind of early for my generation. I tanked, my testosterone levels tanked when I was in my early 40s, which for my generation was a little early. Very, very common now because of all the hormones that they pump in beef and pork and chicken. We see young men, I call kids in their 20s with testosterone levels and estrogen levels of a girl, but that's another story.
20s is a child.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how that changes? Like
Yeah.
as you get older, it's
Yeah.
like when you're like 10, 20 is a grown ass man.
Yeah. Well, generationally, I was raised when you were 18, it was time to leave the house, but that's a whole other story too.
Yeah, that's another one.
But I went to one of the finest doctors in the city of Atlanta, chief of internal medicine, Michael Katz, chief of internal medicine at Piedmont Hospital. And I had low testosterone and all the symptoms. And, he opened up a medical book and prescribed me testosterone at a moderate dose, low to moderate dose.
What year was this?
Oh, don't get me to line. We're talking 18 years ago. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so about 18 years ago.
After, in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and TRT wasn't a big thing back then like it is now. But anyway, he gave me some testosterone and I felt great for about 5 or 6 months. And then I felt like I was losing my mind. It was because he didn't have me on any estrogens. So my testosterone level went up, but my estrogen level went up way high as well. And so
Did you have to start wearing a bra? Or like,
well, I was shopping for tampons and watching Lifetime movies.
you
and
were crying at during like commercials and stuff
crying
like that.
at a sad country song. That's our ball.
Hey, country's sad, man. What do you get when you play a country song backwards?
Your wife and your car back?
Yeah, you get everything back.
Yeah, that was a guess. So I was kind of a product of a need and became self-educated. And my whole life I've been in the health and fitness related industry. I owned the first Gold's Gym in Kennesaw when I was young, and I had a personal training company before that was really posh. I had a team of people that trained people in home that bought home gym equipment, and that went really well. So I got into this business. I kind of came to a point in my life where I decided if the money didn't matter, which unfortunately it still does in my life, what did I want to do? What was I most passionate about? And this was it. Just seeing so many people that had, people I played college football with that had used and abused anabolics, or competitive bodybuilders like myself that were really in bad shape because they didn't PCT properly, or they did heavy doses at an earlier age, or all the different factors that can really mess you up long term. And then just regular old Joes that as we age, our testosterone levels lower and and all the consequences that come with that. So that's how I got in the business. I've been in the business for about 7 years. I built the business the old-fashioned way. I've never done any marketing, never advertising, no direct mail, no billboards, no radio. One happy patient sending another happy patient. And we started off in a little 2-room clinic upstairs, and now we're in a 9-room clinic that's with a full staff and pretty damn busy. So happy about that.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I want to pull back a little bit more though, because maybe a lot of people don't know that I've known you for quite some time. I met you in a men's group that I think in many ways it saved my life, saved a lot of people's lives, and I've kind of saw you from I think the first night probably that I saw you, kind of as an inspiration. At first it's changed, right? Because you were somebody, obviously you've been very successful before, but then you kind of had that kind of falling down period where we hit rock bottom or whatever. And then I've literally seen you coming back from like asking me where you can take a girl on a date because you didn't have any money that would be free, to now, being, this founder of multiple clinics and just helping so many people, not just helping so many people get better through the clinic, but like employing so many people and enriching so many people's life. And I'm trying not to make it sound like I'm like talking you up, but the truth is the truth. Like, you employ a lot of people, and a lot of people have a good life because of you. And so like, I'm curious, like, what happened with that, and what's been your mindset? Because you seem to been a guy, at least for me, that I look up to. It's like, wow, like you can like lose everything and come back and still be amazing and still have an amazing life. Like, it's never really over,
Yeah, well, I hate cliches, but it's not how many times you get knocked out, it's how many times you get back up. So there's no doubt I made some horrible decisions when I was young, just was selfish and self-centered, and got in a lot of trouble. Got sober about 22 years ago, March 10th of 2001, and that was when my life got really good. But unfortunately, some consequences from my past came back up and bite me, and I had to go to prison for 6 years and violated a probation. That was the rest of the probation sentence. So yeah, when I came home this last time, I was $10,000 in debt, living in my sister's basement. I truly had nothing at the time. In fact, the time that I met you at the first Bible study, I was still in the halfway house.
And so that's kind of what I was getting at. And I wanted you to say it because I didn't want to like,
I'm okay.
I'm
okay with it.
But the thing is that like, I don't know if it was you or somebody else there that said like, I was going through a lot of stuff at the time. I was going through a separation with my wife. I lost my job. My house was in foreclosure. I mean, I was pretty low. And then, it's this saying that somebody told me, is like, if everybody put all their problems, everybody has issues. Everybody's going.
I'm the one who
right?
said it.
Yeah. So, but if everybody put all their problems on the table and you put yours on there, you'd probably pick yours right the hell back up. Yeah. And that's what it was for me. It was you. And I hate to say this,
that's all right.
But like, I was thinking about all the shit that I was going through, and then you shared your testimony. I'm like, fuck, I'm not doing too bad. I'm not doing too bad. Like, and then to see you go from that to now, like, tell me about, all the trips and everything, and that you're helping. And then, we won't even get into cars. Maybe we'll a little bit later. Maybe. I know you kind of turned into a little bit of a car buff, but so yeah, man, it's great.
So the key for me, and one of the things that really, there was a shift. I have, it wasn't the first time I had to start over, but earlier it was always because I just did something catastrophic myself, and it was a consequence. This kind of was just some repercussions from the past that came back to bite me from a long time ago. And I had this shift this time where I just decided that I was just going to try to help everybody. I've always been able to make money. I was, not to be braggadocious, but I was the number one salesperson with every single company I've ever been with, starting at 19 years old. Even when I worked for like AT&T and Lenovo, and they ranked us globally, I was so ego driven that I didn't care how much money I made as long as I was the number one guy on the board, right? Which would be different now. But there was just a weird shift that I decided that I just wanted to help people. I do it in my personal life. I still volunteer at the treatment center on Wednesday night, St. Jude's Recovery downtown, where I got sober 22 years ago. I coach and mentor a lot of people, of course, in sobriety. I sponsored a lot of people in AA and CA that helped me stay sober. But early on, I did it because they said it was the best way to stay sober, right? And that was the main thing.
Yeah, they do say that. I mean, it's staying with the program, staying on the program for sure.
Yeah, but there was just this shift where I found out that, and first of all, I clarify, I'm not really religious. I have a relationship with my Father, I call God. who I talk to every morning, but I don't care what you call him. Jesus Christ, Buddha, Taya, Allah, Muhammad. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I have the same viewpoint, and it's I think maybe that's becoming more popular or whatever, but I think with everything else going on in the world, without getting too political, I mean, there's some trigger points that you just can't seem to talk about. You know, politics, God, kids, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we won't go down that rabbit hole today.
You can get canceled real quick with that. But yeah, I love that you said it that way. Like you have a relationship and not a religion, because it should be personal. At least I think. I think it should be personal.
Well, mine is very personal because, I realized that my father that I believe in was with me even when I made really bad decisions. And he's certainly been with me even more when I try to listen to him and make better decisions. But there was just this really weird shift when I decided that my primary purpose would be just to help other people. The money just comes. And my businesses, my businesses flourish, my relationships flourish, my friendships flourish. Everything is better when I just focus on being of service. Because honestly, my ego and my selfishness, self-centeredness, when I focus on money, I'm never going to have enough money. If I focus on girls, I'm never going to have enough girls. If I focus on work, I'll just work myself 7 days a week, 24/7, 365. And I've done all of those things. Now I have a really pretty good life where I have a balance. I don't work at home. I don't even have a laptop at home.
You say you have a balance, but you work and you put in more effort, I think, than most people that I've met that I know. Or I should say you're one of the busiest people that I know. But I will say within that busyness also comes play. Like, I mean, you do take time to spend with Precious and with the people that are close to you. So, I mean, I get what you're saying with balance, but you are always doing something.
But it's different now. Like I'm really, really busy Monday through Friday and then maybe Saturday till about lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really busy during the daytime. But when I'm done in the evening, like I'm done. Like, it used to be I'd sit on my laptop and work at home. And like,
do you think you had to do that though to get to where you're at now?
I'm not sure. I think that for my sanity and my peace of mind and the quality of life, I'll give you an example. Once upon a time, I owned a franchise called Online Trading Academy. I owned the Atlanta franchise and the Boston franchise. I was part owner of both. And I made way more money than I make right now, by the way.
And that was like teaching people how to day trade, right?
Yeah. We had a school, brick and mortar school, very, very quality business, very legit business, But I worked 6 days a week. And I'd be so tired, I'd sleep my way through even Sunday football on NFL. I'm a huge NFL fan, huge UFC fan, huge NFL fan. And just my quality of life. I made more money, but I wasn't spending it because all I did was work. So again, when my shift just became helping people, that includes, taking that phone call from somebody in need as busy as you are during the day. And I'll do that. And no matter how busy I am, if somebody in need calls me, I'll take the time. A week ago Thursday, I took a call at 12:30 in the morning and had a guy with PTSD struggling that showed up at my house at 2 o'clock in the morning. Didn't get much sleep that night. But the point is like the quality of life that I have. Like, it's just very rewarding. It's not about the money for me now. Like, I'm content with a certain level of flexibility and comfort to be able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. It's not a pissing contest where like I have some of my inner circle of friends that make a lot more money than I do. But for me, I'm just really happy with where I am, who I am as a person, very comfortable with myself and my own skin, which leads to a very rewarding quality of life. I'm just comfortable. I'm not perfect. I strive to be a better man. I have flaws like every other human being. I strive to be a better leader in my business, a better boyfriend, fiance, future husband, a better friend to my friends, just to be a better person. And I am so grateful, probably to me. And I there's some constant life advice that I give people. The first most important one is find your passion, because what I do isn't work to me. Yes, I'm very busy, but I love this. I don't get up thinking, oh, fuck, I got to go to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get up and I get to go help people today. And so number one is find your passion, because in this country, if you're passionate about something, you'll do it enough to get good at it. And in this country, one of the many blessings of the grand USA is when you're really good at something, someone will pay you top dollar to do it, even if it's cutting grass.
I'm really passionate about sleeping.
Yeah, go open up a sleep clinic.
Oh, yeah. But then I wouldn't get any sleep. Work all the time. No, like I think I get what you're saying, and I don't know. I see it from all the people that I know that are successful. It always seems like the perspective that you have now comes after the hard work. Nobody ever seems to have that perspective before the hard work. So that's why, like, I'm curious on just like on a logistical and psychological level, like, do you have to go through that period of just trying the mindset of just, I'm going to outwork everyone, you know, for a period of time to be able to get to that period where you can say, because I think everybody says, you know, like, find your passion, they find this and that or whatever. But I mean, the passion doesn't work unless you, the reason why the passion work is because you're willing to put in the work for it, right?
Yeah,
Because
right.
Like you said, like, you don't feel like you're working.
Right.
Like, because you're constantly doing something that doesn't bother you, that you like, that you enjoy, you get fulfillment out of it. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to. So in my like understanding of it is, you really kind of have to, you do have to go through that period of maybe overworking. I think just maybe, I don't know if you can somehow find the balance while you're doing that. And that's the question. No one ever, everybody says to do it, but no one ever seems to be able. I never heard anybody like, yeah, I had balance my entire life. You know, I had balance my entire life, and I worked really hard, but I did really good, and now I'm still happy.
You know,
like, it's always a retrospective kind of thing.
No, I get it. Like, I have, you know, I have a relationship mentor. You know, I tell people all the time, don't go to somebody for relationship advice that's been divorced 3 times. You know, my guy's been happily married for 25 years, right?
That's hilarious. So wait, so explain that to me. So you didn't call him a therapist or a counselor. You said a relationship advisor?
Yeah, he's a mentor. Like, I pick someone that's successful in business, and that's what made me bring up the topic. One of my business mentors, who's been dead for many years, one of the best life advice he ever gave me was, he never met anybody in his whole lifetime that on their deathbed said they wish I would have worked more. And Steve Jobs said that on his deathbed. You know, how he had the regrets that he had with all his wealth, that he didn't spend more time with his family. So that really hit home with me, because I do make the people that I love and care about a priority in my life. So I think that it does. I can only speak from my own experience. You're right. I did exactly like you said. I was ambitious. I worked all the time. I thought I needed to just work. And I don't feel that way now. And I'm busier than I've ever been in my life. I'll be 59 in November, but I'm in great health. I feel great. I have tons of energy. The second most important thing for me that hits home is just how grateful I am. You know, to have made those bad decisions when I was young, and life could have gone left where I'm, you know, dead or in prison the rest of my life, or just not had a good life. And I'm so grateful. And I think that attitude of gratitude, you kind of manifest it. You know, I'm a big believer in that law of attraction, and happiness is a decision that you make when you wake up in the morning. And I make a decision to be happy, and I'm really happy. Anybody that'll ask you, I'm almost never in a bad mood. Do I get angry about and irritated about stuff? Absolutely. But overall, I'm happy with my life. I'm happy.
All that testosterone, bro.
Oh yeah. I'm a testosterone 2 levels. It's roid rage. It's got to be roid rage. Anytime anybody on testosterone gets mad, it's got to be roid rage.
Yeah. What is it when a female that's like a little bit older gets it then?
Yeah,
it's roid rage.
No, it's PMS. That's
a real thing, though, man. Hormones do affect you.
Oh,
you know
no
what?
doubt.
Let's talk about that for a second. I know we're kind of all over the place, and I don't care. That's what we want,
Yeah.
right? I just wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you, because, like, I've found, and you know, everybody talks about testosterone being elevated, and I've had this conversation with my mother and with family and friends and stuff like that. It's not actually the testosterone that creates like roid rage. It's when people don't have their estradiol.
Correct.
in check,
Correct.
right?
It's not so testosterone. It's a very unique hormone in the sense that, you know, men and women have it, but everything that makes a man, and I mean everything, comes from his testosterone levels. Not just the things we normally associate it, lean muscle mass and high libido and quality of erections and all those things that biologically that we associate testosterone with.
You say it so PC. Quality of erection.
You're right.
It sounds like something that would be in like
Yeah.
in one of those like big pharma commercials. Like,
Yeah.
do you struggle with quality of
Yeah,
erection?
so we need to censor our language. I could say I really meant how hard your dick gets. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was really talking about.
Concrete penises.
Yeah,
That's
run
what
it
we're
through
talking about.
sheetrock, buddy. Run it through
That's
sheetrock.
the tagline for this podcast. Concrete penises.
Yeah, sex sells everything. But yeah, so, you know, whether you believe in evolution or creationism, it doesn't matter. Still to this day, like whether we're talking about a pack of wolves or a clan of gorillas or chimpanzees, the alpha male is the one with the highest testosterone levels. And because no one can challenge him, he gets to make all the rules in his group or his clan. And still to this day, when you look at groups of people, like the alpha male is the leader of his group, his family, his clan, his business. He is the alpha. He is the one who's in charge. And again, going off topic, but like a female to that male will fall in line, because even the most alpha female, because she likes the way that he's leading. But it's not your testosterone levels that cause you the emotional outburst. It's your estrogen levels. So when your estrogen levels get too high, you are exactly like a female on her period, which definitely affects your mood.
Yep.
And
that's why when females have PMS, that happens. The typical
Correct.
PMS. I mean, PMS is a thing, or people wouldn't be talking
Correct.
about it, right? I joke with Shane all the time, and Shayna talks about it all the time. She's like, well, I flipped out for no reason. I must be close to starting.
And it happens. And it happens. And women are more emotional in their decisions than men are more logical in their decisions. And again, there are women that have elevated testosterone levels, and they're usually
there's
the
a
most
spectrum.
Yeah, those are the athletes and the very alpha type women, but still their levels compared to men are just minuscule. They're minute.
It is, but if you look at those, one of the main driving factors to them being the alpha, or maybe to being more logically speaking, or as some guys would say in a derogatory term, like, oh, well, she's too much like a man or whatever.
Yeah.
That's because the hormone levels are a little bit different in everybody. And typically you see women that have higher testosterone
Correct.
are like that. I had something else that I was going to go with too, because it is interesting to me, like how all that works. It's not just the elevated estrogen though, like as we found, is that it's also having too low estrogen to make you emotional.
Correct. So, men are pretty simple. It's testosterone and estradiol, and as long as you've got a good blood work, CBC, and all, your white blood cell, red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit, all your automatics are in line. And then your metabolic panel is good, where you're not too high or low in your metabolics. Your liver function is good. Your kidney function is good. Your prostate is important that we check when we get older. We check all those things. But men are pretty simple creatures when it comes to nature, especially comparatively speaking to women. I hate that I almost said biologically born women, but we're going to not go down that route.
We're not going to get canceled on our first podcast.
Exactly.
Nicholas.
But the fact of the matter is that women are very complicated, complex hormonal creatures. There's so many more gears in the cog because they have the ability to give birth. I mean, they have the ability to make life.
That's why their blood work costs more.
It is.
That's what you're trying to get at.
I wasn't going to say that.
You're telling people. I was just talking to somebody the other day.
Absolutely correct.
I was talking to a guy and a girl at a seminar I did at the gym. We were doing a seminar for nutrition or whatever, and we were talking about blood work, and I was like, yeah, yours will be about this much for the guy or whatever. And I was like, yours is that much. She's like, what? I'm like, women are more complicated.
Yeah, there's more things we have to test for. And I mean, and again, I don't knock what any other clinic does. I've got a great working relationship with almost every other clinic in the city. My philosophy has always been there's enough for all of us to eat. I'm not greedy. I don't look at them as competition. What I do is what I do, and what they do is what they do. And quite frankly, I'm really proud and happy. We have one of the baddest hormone doctors on the planet, which really does separate us from other clinics. But he's
that right side of the door. I want to definitely do a podcast with him.
Yeah,
multiple ones.
Dr. LaScala, who I stole from the NFL, by the way. But what
team did he play for?
I know, he was a doctor for the NFL. But I pride myself on the fact that we really do practice privatized, individualized wellness. So many TRT clinics, especially you look at those $99 a month testosterone on the internet thing, everybody gets hit with the same rubber stamp, which is insane, because anybody that looks at you on paper, and let's say you're a 6'1" white male, 180 pounds, 48 skinny years bitch. Old, yeah, whatever.
You're 6'1", 180,
whatever. Yeah, you are. But whatever the data is, right? Anybody that looks at the data and says it tells you they know exactly what your testosterone level should be, they're lying to you. There's no way you can know that. There's too many factors involved. Now, if we could go back in time and get a full hormone panel on you when you were like 21 years old, I know exactly where I want you to be, because that's where I want you to be. But that range, kind of the minimum feel good range for us is about 700, but some people don't feel good to 1,000.
Well, and so many people, when they talk about where their numbers are at, they're looking at one level. There's different types of testosterone that you test for too, right?
Well, there's your overall level and your free testosterone. And we'll go avoid the rabbit hole of differentiating all that today. But the fact of the matter is that everybody's different. So what works for your buddy, even if you had a twin brother, right, and y'all were biological identical twins, and y'all came into me and you were both 50 years old, and we tested you both. Your life up until 50 has changed you biologically, number one. Your lifestyle that you're living currently might be different than your identical twin brother. Your goals might be different than your 50-year-old twin brother. So he might want to look like, Arnold Schwarzenegger or the current Mr. Olympia and be a big, bulky, massive guy who does nothing but lift weights. And then the brother might want to look like very lean, mean fighting machine, look like more like a track athlete or a sprinter or a running back in the NFL, where it's a little combination of both. So your lifestyle, your diet, your sleeping habits, which are so important. There's so many factors involved to your overall health. So again, what we do here, we're not really just a hormone clinic. We're concerned with your overall wellness. And so the three pieces of the puzzle really are obviously, if you're not hormonally balanced, you can be busting your ass in the gym and not getting the results that you need. But what you putting in your body is just as important. Your nutrition, and you don't have to eat like an IFBB pro, but you need to eat smart. And there's all the food out there now is either medicine or poison, and unfortunately, it's getting really harder to find.
There's a lot more
medicine
than there is medicine.
It's hard to find the medicine, and then the most underrated part of it, in my opinion, which is the most important part of it, is your sleep. I don't eat that well. I'm busy. I travel a lot. I don't prep my food. You try to eat smart at restaurants, but restaurants, how they prepare the food usually makes it more on the poison side than the medicine side. But man, let me tell you, I make sure I get my sleep.
You take naps. I know you take naps, because half the time when I call you, like, hey, what are we doing tonight? You're like, I'm going out, this and that, but I'm going to take a nap first.
Yep. If I'm going out on the weekend.
I started doing that. I don't know if it was because of you or not, but I started. If I know I'm not going out till 8 o'clock, that's how old I am. If I know I'm not going out, and I work in, I run a private security firm, as and so I'm working a lot of late nights. And if I work, I don't care if it's like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, wherever. I'm taking a nap, an hour, 2 hour nap before I go out, and I just have to, because the sleep affects me. I can tell it. I feel like I'm hungover, and I don't drink.
Yeah.
I mean, once in a blue moon, right? I feel like I'm hungover after I get home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
of course,
even if I sleep till noon the next day, because of the circadian rhythm and
take the words right out of my mouth,
the sun and the moon and everything else or whatever, your melatonin and your epinephrine is kind of out of whack, and you feel like you didn't sleep even if you were technically awake till 8 o'clock. I'm kind of glad that you said that, because I talk about this a lot. Like, you can go weeks without food.
Yep.
Without any food at all.
Yep.
You can go a long time without water even, but your brain cannot function with no sleep or without any sleep at all for more than like 36 hours. Yeah. You'll fall into some type of coma and neurosis or not.
You start having hallucinations on day 3, and it's scientifically proven. I mean, one of the most common torture method is sleep deprivation. You don't let somebody sleep, and eventually they will do anything to get themselves to get some sleep.
Well, they're literally like a zombie. They can't. I mean, your body can't control it. You'll start to fall asleep. And so what I've noticed in getting blood work done with you guys, and I'm sure you probably talk about this with a lot of people, like, you can be pounding a gram of test a week, and if you don't get proper sleep, your testosterone levels are going to be in the tank.
Well, it's funny you said a gram a week. Our culture thinks that, and this is with everything.
More is better.
Yeah, if 1 is good, 2 is better, 3 is great. And with testosterone, 1 is good, 2 is bad, and 3 can really mess you up. And again, like everything else in life, when you're younger, we get these kids that are out here self-medicating. When you're younger, like everything else in life, you have a wider latitude of error, right? And this goes to whether you're drinking or drugging or sexing or partying or working or whatever, your body will rebound and adapt. But the older you get, the narrower that window is that you need to stay in the parameters of without having serious consequences. And that comes with everything. It's not just your hormones. That can be with working too many hours or not getting enough sleep or drinking too much or drugging too much or whatever. These things, as you age, your parameters of error get more narrow. That's why it's so important as you get older to do it right. Have your levels monitored. Most of my patients are Jane and John Doe. right? That's the vast majority of the people that we treat. But I do have a niche with treating a lot of professional athletes. We've got a lot of IFBB pros. I've got NFL players.
So, and if you guys are listening to this and you don't know what that means, an IFBB pro means the International Federation of Bodybuilding.
Yep.
That is kind of like the same as being in the NFL with football with
Correct.
bodybuilding. It starts out to be an IFBB pro or to go to the Olympia, which most people know the Olympia. You have to go through the IFBB, and in order to get into the IFBB and be considered a pro, you have to go through the National Physique Committee, which is the NPC. You have to go through and do nationals. There's a whole process with that. But you know, throughout this process, we're going to have some IFBB guys in here. You're going to hear that term a lot. So if you guys don't know what that is, that's what that means.
Yeah, but it's not just pro bodybuilders. I've got NFL players. I've got NBA players. It's funny, I don't have any pro baseball players, but that's another story. I have European basketball players. I've treated a lot of different pro athletes. We treat pro track Olympic athletes. We've got just about half of the U.S. Olympic baseball team. And again, it's a HIPAA violation for me to say who exactly is and isn't a patient, so I can't be name dropping. But yeah, it's that's a niche. But you know,
I try to catch you in a lie every now and then. I'm like, you'll be like, yeah, so this. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. So what's he? And you're like, no, I mean, I don't. I just, I know. You're like trying to pick around. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah, we're really big on that because it's a privacy thing, and
it is. What's funny is that like, it's great because testosterone and growth hormone or just regenerative medicine, we'll say in general, is not nearly as taboo as it was even 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, there is still a little bit of, it's like people maybe don't want to know that they're on it because especially if they're a professional athlete, even if their sport allows it, right?
Yeah.
Like the IFBB has no testing whatsoever. It's assumed that everyone is on copious amounts of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I think you do with most of your IFBBs is because, they take extra stuff. You're basically just monitoring their blood.
Absolutely. I don't
cleaning them up after.
Yeah, I don't script those guys anything. If you're self-medicating anything on top of what I'm scripting you, I will cancel your prescription immediately. My job with those guys is just to make, try to keep them safe, try to get them to clean themselves out at least once a year, preferably twice. Try to look at the longevity of their life. You have so many bodybuilders that are dropping like flies, right? And again, just because they take, more is not better, believe it or not. And I wish I could name names, but some of the elite level physique athletes, men and women, they don't take the dosages that you think that they take. No. And then some of them do. And some of them take enough that would kill a horse.
You'd be surprised that I said this to somebody else the other day. Actually, it was just yesterday in the seminar because they were asking questions about testosterone, this and that. And, when I competed and things that I did or whatever. And you'd be surprised at the amount of guys at the gym that are on enough PEDs to choke a donkey, and they don't even look like they work out. Because everybody wants to just, when you see Phil Heath or Mr. Olympia or Samson Dowda or whoever, like Samson Dowda just won the Arnold, right? Yeah. And he's like one of the biggest names in bodybuilding right now. You can look and see, and like they're pretty open about what they do, and and I know some of the people that know him. I don't know him personally or whatever, but what he looks like natural is insane. There's a genetic component.
Oh, no doubt.
And if you would see, if people would see what he's taking, they just wouldn't believe it. And but that's the longevity of it. Like you have to play the long game. It's just like with training, like with strength sports. The person that's going to have the best career in strength sports is a person that doesn't get hurt. That's all it is. It's just the longevity. It just takes time and effort, and like you can't be an overnight success, especially in bodybuilding. It takes 10 years. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah. In any pro sport, if you're a pro athlete in any sport, you are the elite of the elite. But you did use an expression I want to talk about. When you talk about performance enhancing PEDs, right?
Like protein or creatine.
Yeah, those are not it.
Those are though. That's the thing. It's like everybody talks about PEDs.
Yeah, but they're not drugs. Performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah,
there's performance enhancing supplements. But there's a huge difference between, and that's why we talk about it's taboo still, because people say, oh, that's a steroid. Well, there's steroids in so many medications that everybody takes, and nobody gets put on some taboo list.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
there's a huge difference between therapeutic dosages is what we do, and performance enhancing dosages. At therapeutic dosages, there are rarely, if ever, any side effects, because all we're doing is taking you and restoring to your natural young
Negative
level
side
of
effects.
correct.
There are rarely any negative side effects.
Correct.
And
Negative.
when you say performance enhancing dosages, though, however, like the therapeutic dosages are still performance enhancing. Right?
Oh, there's no doubt. Right. If you are low and we restore you to your youthful level, your performance is going to improve in every area of your life.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the difference between therapeutic dosages and performance enhancing dosages, which, these competitive athletes are doing, it's a huge, there are almost never any side effects from therapeutic dosages. And we're really good at what we do. And we have a lot of tools in our toolbox. So, some people, cypionate is the most common form for therapeutic dose for testosterone, but occasionally you'll see someone, the cypionate makes them hold water. So we'll switch them to a nanthate, which if you blindfolded most people, one's got a 10-day half-life, one's got a 14-day half-life. 12 and 14. You'd never know the difference. And then some people react better to a fast-acting like a propionate, which seems to put more lead in the pencil for some older people. By lead in the pencil, I mean quality of erection. So we have a lot of tools in our toolbox.
Hashtag that when we share this thing.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
And then the great thing about our industry is
Get
like
some shirts made. That's what we need. You need CellTech quality of erection shirts.
No, sex sells everything, but that's just a small part of what we do. But the wonder of modern medicine, like these healing peptides are keeping people so much more healthy and so much more resistant to injury and so much more receptive to shorter recovery times from injuries. Like they call BPC 157 the Wolverine compound.
Yeah.
And even when I had
500 BBC 157, that's interesting though, because for some reason, for whatever reason, and I guess maybe because there isn't a past stigma on it, but people seem to be way less concerned about the taboo of peptides. Because I don't know if it's the word or whatever, but with peptides, you have like mothers and grandmothers like being like, yeah, sure, I'll take this peptide or whatever. But if you tell them like, I'm going to take a steroid or a testosterone or something, like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Of course. It's what you call it, because technically, by the letter of the Webster's dictionary definition, growth hormone would be considered a peptide, because a peptide is just a chain of lipid proteins. But they're just figuring out which lipid proteins do what to the body. I'll give you some examples. So someone struggling with weight loss, you can put them on FRAG 176-191. And where that name comes from is growth hormone is a 191 linked chain of lipid proteins. And they're just figuring out which part of that chain does what to the body. So you can put somebody on a fragment of that chain, the HGH frag, which is the part of the back third of the chain that's responsible for preventing your body from storing body fat, and really lean somebody out. Just like you talked about, the two most other popular ones are TB500 and BPC 157. For invasiveness of the skin, you've got a cut, you've got a wound, you've got a burn, TB500 will make the skin heal up immediately. And, we found out about it years ago when they were giving it to soldiers that were burn victims in Afghanistan. And I was seeing their pictures of how their burns were healing up. And some of them, it barely looked like they had a light birthmark there. Like their skin was barely discolored. And so we became a big believer. And then with BPC, of course, we've been using it here for 6 years, but it was the rave of the anti-aging conference a few years ago for ligament, tendon, that type of connective tissue, muscle, regenerative. It's crazy how many people that we have saved from going to the orthopedic. Because let me tell you, the surgeon's job is to cut on you, right? That's his job. So you go in there and there's any separation, he's like, oh yeah, we need to get in there. Yeah, we can fix that with surgery. But most of the time,
I'm one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Anybody that follows me probably knows. I mean, I don't share it all the time, but I have a broken back, I have a broken neck, torn rotator cuff, multiple labrum tears, all this other kind of stuff from just wear and tear and being stupid when I was younger and all this other kind of stuff. The ironic thing is that, like, I tell everybody, it's like, I've never really hurt myself in the gym. Like, I'm invincible in the gym, but then I step outside of the gym, I stump my toe and I break my foot. Like, I did when, there was a freak accident with my neck. Without going too far into it, like, I really truly believe it had to do with just dehydration, because I had been sick for 6 weeks, and like I went back to the gym and it was lightweight, and then it was a horrible situation. But every single time, my go-to for those things have always been a TB 500 and a BPC 157. And I've just noticed such a everybody's like, oh, I can't believe you bounced back from a broken neck, in like, in however many couple months, because I was paralyzed for almost a month.
Yeah.
If you remember, like I couldn't go get an MRI to see what was wrong with me because I couldn't lay down for the MRI. Like I was like this. And I'm not saying that I mean, it was obviously, I threw everything I could at it. You remember, you're like, oh, what do we need to do? Let's come up with a protocol. Cause I was on the verge of killing myself. I was so depressed. At the time I was 7.5 weeks out from the national championships. I thought I was going to get my pro card and then just boom, everything just kind of fell apart. And so like I would spend my entire life just, what can I do nutritionally? Can I be in the gym more and everything? And I really do believe that these things like really, really help me. But like the mechanisms, and I know you don't want to get too much into the science. We'll do that when we get Dr. Lascata. But like it really just works from my understanding of just like creating more blood vessels and getting more blood flow to the area that is inflamed. Right?
Well,
That's
part of it. I mean, it works in 3 components, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We'll save that for Dr. Lascata, right? There's no doubt it works. The MRIs don't lie. So when you look at an MRI and you see that something's torn, as long as there's still some connection there, the body's an amazing mechanism. It will heal itself if you give it the right tools to do so. Now, if it's completely separated, there's not a compound in the world that's going to magically reattach it and put it together. But so many people have said, oh, I need surgery on this. I'm like, hold off. We'll run this. And then they go back to their surgeon, and the surgeons are even amazed. Like, I don't use myself as an example too often, but I had heart surgery the Monday before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And I got out on Thanksgiving Day, and believe it or not, very quickly, I thought it was a freak accident, but it's fairly common. I tore my mitral valve lifting heavy in the gym, and the change in pressure between the chambers just ripped one side of my valve, and it was just ripped wide open. It must have been like that for about a month. I was tired all the time and shortness of breath. Didn't know what was going on until I went into AFib. But 5 years ago, the only solution would have been a pig valve, which lasts about 7 years. So they have these new synthetic valves they say will last more than a decade, but they don't know because they haven't been using them that long. You got to stay heavily medicated the whole time you're on them. But there's one doctor at Emory, Dr. Murphy out of Emory in Atlanta, who invented this technique where he goes in robotically with 6 long robotic chopsticks, and he can only do it with this particular valve.
You called them chopsticks.
Yeah, that's what they are. And
I can just see him like Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, it's
snapping the fly and.
No, but he does it robotically in this machine, and like he sewed it back up. And I got out on a Thursday, the Thanksgiving night on Thursday, and my first follow-up appointment was the next Thursday. And I go in to see the doc, and he's like, raise your shirt, and he says, looks at me, goes, where were you last week? And I'm like, oh, I was in the hospital. He said, no, you missed an appointment. You missed an appointment last week. And I said, Doc, last week was Thursday. I was in the hospital. So he leaves and comes back with my file and apologizes, as much as a doctor would. He didn't really acknowledge it. But he brings in another doctor and his NP to look at how my wounds had healed. And he's like, this is incredible. He says, we don't see this at any age, but especially your age, how you had healed up. And truth be told, I almost want to lift my shirt and show it. I had 6 holes that went all the way from the entry point to the heart. So these weren't like cat scratches or, paper cuts. Yeah. These were puncture wounds that go all the way from the site to my heart. And right now, if I took my shirt off, you can only see where 2 of them are. And those are the 2 that they left open to let fluids drain out. Like you can't even see where the other ones, there's no scar at all.
This sounds like a sales commercial for the peptides.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah. You don't have to buy them from him.
Yeah.
But
let me talk about that for a minute, because I'm really glad you mentioned that. One of the things I love, and we talk about being passionate, one of the things I love about being in this business is, I kid you not, and you've been here and you see it, I don't sell anything. Like, our job is to make recommendations based on what the data says and the data we collect from your medical history and your lifestyle. Someone comes in, and it happens rarely, a couple of times a year. Somebody will say, well, I want to think it over. The salesman in me has 20 bullets in my gun that would blow that out of the water and get them to get started. Somebody says they want to think it over now. We hand them the card and say, if you got any questions, give us a call. Some examples of that. Well, most of the time, the only 2 times that happens, people don't have the money.
Yeah, but I've also heard it's like, I don't know if you said it or somebody else said it. They were like, once guys start feeling better and they get on testosterone, they'll like miss a truck payment
Oh,
to
no,
make
no.
sure they keep their testosterone.
COVID was an example. Like everybody's business went down in COVID. I had people that would sleep in their car and eat ramen noodles to keep their testosterone prescription up. You think I'm playing?
That sounds depressing, but like at the end of the day, it's quality
It is
of
what
life
it
is
is.
more important
Yeah,
than
it is
anything
what it
else,
is.
man.
So, I'll give you another example. Again, actions speak louder than words. A lot of hormone clinics, they make their patients come in weekly or bi-monthly to get their shot, right? And they do that because every time they come in the door, they try to sell them something else. We don't. We teach people how to self-administer. My lobby, the only nutritional supplements that I carry are the ones that have a medical need for what we do here. I could have a whole supplement store out there and sell everything. I don't. I carry only the things that are a direct result of a need that we see in the blood work. Everything we do here is predicated on blood work. So the blood work doesn't lie. We don't invent anything. You say you need more of this, you need more of this. Most people don't need a lot of things. If you're hormonally balanced and you're putting the right food in your body and you're getting the right sleep, you don't need a bunch of other stuff. And if you do, it almost never is something that you would take orally because your body interprets that as synthetic and just pisses it out. That's why your multivitamin, your pee looks like it's fluorescent, would glow in the dark. If you are deficient in something that shows in your blood work, we'd give it to you in a shot or an IV because it gets where it needs to go.
I feel you. Yeah, I can't really believe it's already been like 45 minutes. I want to wrap up here because I know, just like I said in the beginning, you're one of the busiest people that I know, and we've got a bunch of stuff going on right now. But I want to try and end with, if you have any, I guess, last thoughts or anything else that you want to say. Obviously, they can go to celltechmd.com.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
You can get through that. And then you guys are also on all the social media and all the other kind of
Yeah.
stuff. We're going to be doing these things on a fairly regular basis. As much as we can get in here, we're going to try and get as many of the athletes and the clients and different people to come in. But this podcast, the Gym Gypsy podcast, anybody that's been watching it for a while, it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. So yes, it is, around health and fitness, but I just want to talk to people that I'm interested about. So I'm kind of selfish in that way. I don't really care if you're a musician or if you're a pro athlete or if you're just some dude that I don't know, draws people's faces on the side of the road. Like, if I think you're cool, I like you, I want to have you in here. And I'm really, really appreciative that we finally, after 13 years, got a chance to get you in here and sit down and talk.
It hadn't been
Hopefully
13. Hopefully it'll be another 5 though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, so hopefully this can be a normal thing. I'd like to eventually maybe like get more than one and have like a semi-regular guest or co-host and all this stuff. But we're just excited to finally get in here and do this thing. But what's some of the last thing that you want to say? It can be about you say to somebody that you know, or it can be about CellTech or whatever.
No, so the first thing is I agreed to sponsor, and for those of you uneducated, sponsor means write checks. That's what I do for all my sponsored athletes. Sponsor means I write the check.
Producer.
Is
the equipment's yours.
Yeah, Justin just does a great job on his podcast. He's just got that obviously really he has a face built for radio, but we'll give him a pass on that one. But he's definitely got the radio voice, great sense of humor, very intelligent on a bunch of topics, especially when it comes to health and nutrition. That's why I agreed to do it. So that's the first thing.
Keep telling we're going to need a bigger fucking room for my head.
So it's bigger hat size. No, but I don't have any like great parting words of wisdom other than, your hormonal health is so important, and it's a factor in every aspect of your life. Again, not just the things that we associate it with, your workouts and your lean muscle mass and your sex drive. It's like your overall sense of well-being. One of the things that somebody told me about growth hormone way before I did it was like there was just this sense of ease and comfort and this sense of well-being. And, I thought it was bullshit. I'm like, that ain't me. I'm not wired that way. But after,
all right, hippie.
Yeah, exactly. But after I'd been on it for about a year, it's pretty true, because prior to being hormonally balanced in all aspects, I was like always at either the top of the mountain or the valley, right? I was either everything was great or, oh my God, life sucks. Yes, exactly. There was never, and I don't have those highs and lows anymore. I'm pretty much on an even keel. Like I said, most of the time I'm pretty happy. I love my life. It comes back to passion and gratitude, the two things that I said. So The advice to anybody was like, and it's not even a CellTech commercial. If you want to have a high quality of life, get your hormone levels checked, because if they're off, all the other stuff that you're doing to improve the quality of life doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And that's kind of my goal, and why I kind of agreed to have it set up like this as a sponsor, right? Like I wanted to keep the podcast my podcast, but I've never had a sponsor before. I've had people approach me and I'm like, I don't want your money. I make my own money and I do this, and I don't want to have anybody have control over this. But like, I think that it's really important to, like you said, to help people. And I feel like, you know, the more people understand about this and the less taboo we have these things become, I just think the better we're all going to be for it. And that's kind of my goal. And obviously you being, you know, one of my good friends and just a mentor to me, you know, we talk about like, you know, mentoring on different levels or whatever. It just felt right. It felt perfect. And like, I'm excited for it.
Oh,
So,
I'm super excited.
I mean, talk everything up. But
I mean,
like,
listen, we're building the podcast room.
Yeah, we're literally, look, guys, this is going to look a lot better.
It's going to look a lot different.
I think we're going to get a plant in here and
get
like
a bigger sign.
Get a bigger sign that's not taped up to the thing. Or
maybe
whatever.
on Fridays we'll have, you know, cocaine and strippers. I don't know. So.
I thought you were going to say like casual Friday, but I guess that's way more casual. All right, we're going to get out of here so we can get the rest of everything done. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having me, brother.
If you're watching this, please make sure you subscribe, like, and give us a comment on whatever it is that you guys want to hear us and see us talk about. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.